So she already kind of did the introduction. Krista, Zach, Riley. Our other daughter is Taylor. I think we'll just kind of go through both labors because they're very different, but they're also very similar now that we've been able to look back over them and see some pretty obvious similarities that were pretty easy to miss when you're kind of in the moment. And we'll go over the emergency childbirth, basically just what Dr. Bradley said, because it didn't feel like very much of an emergency to us, but there's a lot of things that could have gone wrong and very luckily didn't. So just kind of go over things. If something's unclear, if you have a question, stop us, let us know. With our first daughter, basically I labored by myself from 9 till 6 in the morning. It wasn't that hard. Yeah, he was sleeping. I didn't wake him up. I was like, I can do this. It's no big deal. It's, the contractions were probably 20 minutes apart and I didn't think it was very difficult. So I woke him up at 6 when it was starting to get challenging, and I must have left him out of the loop a little bit because he thought we were just starting and we wanted to go for a walk and get in the shower and do all the stuff you're supposed to do to see if you can slow down your labor, which we didn't. We sped it way up. And that was about 6 in the morning. We ended up having Taylor by 11. And we actually, I don't know if you guys have done this class or not yet. I think it was page 38. Yep. I remember very specifically, Bruce said these pages are going to be life-saving, and they were for us. It was what got us to the hospital in time, just in time to have Taylor at the hospital. So I wasn't present of mind, which is something that I didn't expect. I wasn't able to recognize how quickly I was going through these stages. The first half of labor really was slow and no big deal. And then the second half, I feel like all of a sudden we were having a baby, and what happened in between, I have no idea. So he was looking at these and recognizing the steps. And that was actually the only reason we ever left and went to the hospitals, because he's like, I think you're in transition and we should have left an hour ago.
She actually hit pretty much I missed the first part, so I'm sleeping. But she actually hit the symptoms of each phase. You could clearly see that she labored through each phase of labor, and it got a little scary in transition. We had to go.
But we had some now that we've been able to look at both of our labors, we've had some really consistent things happen. I know that every labor is different. The couple that just shared their story, they had the cesarean and then had a VBAC. So they can't really compare their labors. We were lucky that they were, for us, both unmedicated, both natural, and I was able to look back over them. So things that we should have looked for would have been bloody show. When we had bloody show, we were really close. And both times that happened right before we left the house. And then for me, I know some couples, I think actually Christina, one of your labors, your water broke like 2 days or something before you had one of your children. And for me, it was like, as soon as my water broke, it was game on. The baby was going to be there within the next 5 minutes, and we should have been paying more attention. So Taylor, our other daughter, my water didn't break till we got to the hospital. And it was after I started pushing. I think I pushed 3 times and baby was out. So we really should have looked, and shaking was another thing for me that I hadn't expected. He thought I was shaking because I was cold. I thought I was shaking because I was cold. And then the shaking just became uncontrollable. And that happens. If that happens, you should be either on the way or at the hospital, hopefully, because that means you were very close. And it's in here. Yeah.
Well, if you're not cold and we got to go, it says right here, we should already be there.
We're too late. So under transition, maybe sweaty, shaky, hot, nervous, cold.
All of that.
All of the above. Bag of waters may break. So this is, for us, this happened all at one time. It was like I started shaking really, really bad. I got really hot. I lost modesty very quickly. My father-in-law's walking into the house. I'm ripping off my jacket. My pants are, it's just, you're having this baby and you don't care who's there. So that was our first one. We got to the hospital with just enough time we skipped the emergency room. They took us right upstairs. I got checked once. I was a 10+2, and 5 minutes, 20 minutes later, baby was out. I actually had to call the midwife on call because our midwife was delivering another baby. And because it was our first, they had kind of blown us off a little bit. So beware of that. Like, oh, you've got time, get in the tub, relax. No, there's no time for that. I don't want to have the baby at home. So that was our first labor. And the second one, little Riley here, my first contraction woke me up at 12:47 in the morning, and I wasn't even quite sure that it was a contraction. I went to the bathroom, woke him up right away this time. And it was about 1:15. We were having the discussion. Should we call for a babysitter? Should we give everybody a while longer to sleep? It's 1 a.m. We probably have 6 hours. We were in the mindset of, it's going to be a shorter labor, but we have some time. We'll be nice and not wake everybody up at 1 a.m. So by, what was it? Probably 2.
Yeah.
I was on the floor in our bathroom saying, get your dad over here right now, because I have to push, and there is no way that this baby is coming right now, but I've got nothing left. I have to push, and it has to be right now. So he called his dad. I didn't make it down the hallway before my water broke, and we got in the car to leave the house and had the baby about 500 feet outside of our neighborhood on Chandler Boulevard on the way to the hospital.
Yeah, all by herself.
So yeah, it was, and it's very, I didn't realize this, but after your water breaks, you completely lose control of that urge to push. Like, we had tried some things with Taylor before my water broke on the way to the hospital. I felt like I had to push, and he'd say, get your chin off your chest, do everything that we learned in class, and it worked. It was effective. But after your water breaks, for me anyway, and we learned from the midwife, for a lot of people, there is much less control over that urge to push. It is, this baby is coming and is ready, and right now. So my water broke, and probably 5 minutes later, she was born. We were lucky that we didn't have there was no cord around the neck. She was crying when she came out, and she pinked up fast. We picked her up.
She had dialed 911 while we were driving, because
you panic a little bit. Baby's sitting in your pants all of a sudden. You're like, I don't really know what to do.
They had picked up the phone, and she said, oh my God, baby. So I pulled over. She said, I feel like something's coming out. So I pulled over, opened the door. I was going to come around the car and get ready to catch. I was able to catch my first daughter in the hospital, and I've been trained to do it. But I pulled over, opened the door, and the baby came out. So I was on the phone. We had to make a decision at that point: continue the hospital or go home and wait for the fire truck and ambulance to show up, which can take 5-6 minutes anyway. So either way, we decided the baby's fine, she was fine. We're just going to continue the hospital. Everything's okay. And that's what we did. We got to the hospital before the fire truck and ambulance would have been to our house anyway. So it's just.
And for us, we were fortunate to have that choice. I mean, we were in a situation where everybody was okay, and we were close enough to the hospital where we could make that decision. But I noticed when I was reading through here, there's like earthquakes and all kinds of horrific things that can happen where you wouldn't be able to make those decisions. But for us, we felt that we were both okay. She was breathing. I was fine. And so we just picked her up and went on our way to the hospital. We did. No. So the placenta wasn't delivered until we got to the hospital, so probably 15 minutes later. And actually, just an interesting fact, her birthplace is Gilbert, even though she was born in Chandler, because the placenta was delivered in Gilbert. Interesting. Yeah. No, who would have thought? So. You get a whole show of people.
That was interesting,
yeah.
Because we, just like with our first daughter, Taylor, we had a plan, and it was going pretty well when we got there. They want to get their hands on you. They want to do, especially in the emergency department, they want to do what they do. And I had to really be stern and tell them no. And with Riley, the same thing. She was out. She was fine. Krista was fine. So at that point, it's just get upstairs, and the rest will happen. But they want to get their hands on and cut the cord and do all that, and I had to be stern.
In the parking lot, by the way. Come on.
No, we're not doing any of that.
Can we not?
We'll put her on the bed, and we're going to take her upstairs. So as a coach, I at least got that part right. I was able to stand the ground for all of us and just say, hey, we're good. Like, it's not, there's no emergency. There's no reason to freak out right now. Everything's fine. Let's just go sit. And they know what they're doing up there. And so, but looking back, we were writing down the contraction times and the length. We did that with our first daughter, and we did it with this one. And 2 o'clock in the morning, you don't really do your math right. And the interval was much shorter than I thought. So there were signs way in advance. So I pulled out the sheet. I was like, ooh, okay. I was thinking 5-6 minutes, and they were like 2 to 3 minutes. And so, but also, I picked up on when she was having contractions. The first, I don't know how long, but the contractions, she was able to easily, well, not easily, but she was getting through them easier than there was a certain definitive point when it was obviously harder for her. The contraction was much stronger, and it was literally, I mean, like 2 contractions later, we're on the phone, and everything's going on. We almost delivered the baby in the hallway of our house. Our other daughter's crying. She's scared because mom is in pain and she can hear it. And so there were signs that we missed.
Well,
completely.
I think a big part of it is don't be stubborn. I'm pretty stubborn. Like, listen to your body, because your body knows. Your body is talking to you. And also listen to your coach, because I remember he asked me for the first contraction that got incredibly painful. He said, did something just change? And I said, no, it's fine. Well, I'm lying, so don't listen to me, because I just didn't want to go to the hospital. You have to listen to your body, and your coach knows you well enough to know she's probably lying, or
I'm
something is different. He's got the chart.
And he says in there, change, So, yeah, just communication is super important. I don't know that it would have changed a whole lot because Riley, it was so fast.
It was less. She was born at 2:50, and so it was almost 2 hours to the minute that we were in labor. I mean, it was literally, you don't even have enough time to wrap your head around the fact that you're having the baby right now, and you haven't done anything to prepare. You left half your bags at home. It's just.
Well, we had to get people to the house to watch.
That was the biggest
our
problem.
Oldest daughter, and we had a dog. So we had no idea it was going to go that fast. We would have had that process happen earlier, but right before you're getting ready to walk out the door, my dad's 5 minutes away, and still barely made it. So just, they were so different each time. Just like she said, listen to your body.
One other thing too is, we were lucky that it did go well, and that she didn't have the cord wrapped and all that other stuff. But God forbid you're in a situation where your baby is born and she's not breathing, or he's not breathing, and you have to do CPR or whatever it is you have to do. We provided a resource. I don't know. Did you hand out the paper already? That has that information on there. It's $40 a person, I think. Might be worth it to go. Just make sure that you are prepared to handle that if it does happen, because you don't know how fast it's going to happen. You don't know where it's going to happen. You don't know when it's going to happen or how long it's going to take anybody to get to you. We're lucky. I don't know if Christina mentioned nurse and firefighter. So we're lucky that we have a little bit of medical background. Neither of us work a lot with children, or neither of us deliver kids on a regular basis, but we have a foundation that would make us more comfortable than most, I think. And if you don't have that at all, and when it is your body and your baby, it changes everything. So as much as you think it all kind of goes out the window when you're in the midst of it. But it's worth it to Google it, take a class. It's invaluable.
If you're in doubt or you're in that situation where you're in the hallway, baby feels like something come out, just call me. They'll come. They are trained, to do. So it's always a resource. And again, we're stubborn. I know what happens when 911 shows up when they do that. So I knew what we were going to get if we called how long it was going to take, the decisions that they have to make, and it's kind of just like the ER. They come in to take over and do their job. And when we were in the hall, I checked. I thought we had time, and we did not.
No, and he says that like it's a bad thing, but we just have a different perspective. I mean, 911 is very well qualified to handle your emergency should you need them there, and should you feel that, like, I actually told him right before my water broke, I think we should call 911. I was okay with that, but he has a different side of it. He sees that as his job. So if you are ever uncomfortable for whatever reason, just call. They're fully qualified to handle that.